Good morning, traders out there. Who's ready for another battle right here in the hot seat? Well, Money Mitch is back, and I'm ready to get after it, traders. We'll see what we can come up with today. I'm already in a trade in the small account here. Let's see if maybe we get one of these small stocks to run here. I'm in a stock right now, $2 stock. Let's see if it can make a run to 3. That's Agri, AGRI. We'll take a look at different action. Of course, the ripping rally off of Trump, pulling back, turning on his comments of Jerome Powell. We'll talk all about that, the tariff action, and we got a lot more to get into before the trading action really kicks off. And the SPY kicking off there, guys, 540.10 now and continuing the rally. We'll see. Can we jump on some of this momentum? Can it continue? Of course, a lot of this momentum coming in overnight. So that's when it makes it a little bit tough. We'll talk about the action. We'll get to the playbook, the sunrise report, what's going on. A lot of stocks reporting right now, and a lot of stocks we got to get through. Of course, Tesla reporting last night. That's what everyone wants to think about. But we'll be talking about it right here. Let's focus in. Let's see what we can come up with today. Let's get right to the action into today's playbook action. Let's go. All right, guys, first up on the playbook, we're going to be taking a look at different plays. Of course, as the market turns around, we got to get a little bit flexible today. And so we're going to be looking to see what we can come up with, guys. The playbook today is going to be a little bit interesting. Let's talk first about the nuclear theme as it starts to heat up. That's where I'm looking at right now to see if we can continue making some moves there. Let's see what we got here. Of course, I'm going to be watching what SMR is my watch here, guys. I was watching this stock a little bit yesterday, just taking a look on the bottoming action, and I can see that kind of inverse head and shoulders pattern starting to form. Of course, inverse head and shoulders patterns aren't the cleanest patterns. This is kind of more of that neckline approach, but I can see that head formed right here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can help you guys see it also. Of course, you guys can see that action here and off of the action there. And so essentially we're looking to see if we can start to really rally off of this and get a couple of actions to really push. So the next level is to watch is, of course, the 1650s, the 1670 area. Right now we're trading at 1630s and continuing the drive in the after hours. Let's see if this can continue to push, of course, with different names. Guys, of course, these are stocks that have been making moves. And one of the things that I'm looking at is there's different stocks reporting today. There's, of course, GEV that had some good earnings. We'll talk a little bit about that stock. And then NNE reporting also. And then we'll talk a little bit about that. We got to get into all these reports and keep watch to see what happens to these nuclear plays. But OKLO also with some news out there. And this one drove it down and drove it right back. So I'm looking for SMR to get hot here. We'll see if we can really start making some moves in some small nuclear reactors. All right, guys, smash the like for that. Like always, giving you guys plays every single morning to take a look at for in the market. Let's go to the VXX, of course, as we got a little bit of a meltdown yesterday, but it really wasn't that big. It really, the after now hours action is probably a little bit bigger, 4.7%. And then yesterday during the intraday, only 2.9. But now is the volatility fading? Of course, as Trump softening on his stance on Powell and China's risk-on fuel add into the monster overnight rally. If the bulls can hold the gains, we could be looking at a continued VIX crush here. Key levels to look for, of course, are 6650s for support. And right now, we're dropping fast towards that 6650s. Let's see if we can get this to continue to drop and see that next layer cut down. Of course, this one started to grind back up on this major kind of breakout look and then kind of failed it. Of course, if it starts to break down the daily levels, and I even have a little red bar in there where we got to look to see, is it going to go into that gap? We have a very strong potential of it going into that gap today. Let's see what happens. Of course, we originally drew this area on the 14th, updating it now. Let's see if we get into that area. All right, guys, that's the VXX. Let's go to one more on today's playbook, and then we'll take a look at the sunrise report and see what's moving in the market, the earnings stocks out there, and of course, taking a look to make some watch list action. You guys out there, let me know what you guys are looking at in the chat. And like always, smash the like for us as we continue pushing here on Trade the Pool. All right, let's go to the next one here. This is one that I actually think that I could maybe even take in the pre-market, but we'll see the action that happens out the gates. I'm looking at the XLP. And the XLP, if you take a look at on the daily, it's actually been doing pretty well. It's been kind of grinding back higher. It was in this really kind of trouble area, but look at the quick move right back up. And a lot of this is what? Safety trade, right? This is where a lot of the traders go to because there's higher dividends and there's value trades in here. Now, will the trade go right back to growth? Will we see the value trade deteriorate today? That's what I'm looking for. So I'll be looking to see if some names start to get weak, right? Some names like Procter & Gamble, right? Some names like, let's say, Clorox. Names like that. You can see how they're already kind of fading a little bit. We'll see what happens to these names. Another thing to keep in mind, though, in this space, a lot of that is also run by the names that have been strong, like Walmart and Costco, doing pretty well on the bounce back. So those are names that you can maybe look for some upside action if we don't see the downside in the consumer staples. Like always, you got to have multiple plays. Looking into the sector to industry analysis is very vital, traders. Smash the like for that action. We'll talk a little bit more about this, of course, in the Sunrise Report. That's going to do it for that action. Let's take a look to see what's going on in the market right now. I'm still in on this agri, but I'm about to get out of this. I'll show you guys the trade right now. And you guys let me know in the chat. How do you guys feel about this trade? I'm in agri right now. It's a farm product stock here. It's trading up there. It got up there to the 250s. It was a nice little breakout here, and it came back. So I was looking to maybe try to catch it a little bit on the dip and look to see if it could rip back to that 250s, maybe make a run there to $3, right? Into this area would be a nice little run. It's made a couple of runs already. Now trying to reload. Will it just fade off here? Very much could, but look at the hourly. The hourly tells me that we're still in here. We're still hanging in here, and we could get a drive back through here, the 226, and the real drive starts to happen. So let's see what happens with this stock. I'm in here, guys. I'll show you guys the position right now. Let's move this up a little bit so you guys can see my positions here. Sorry about that. Let me fix this. Usually have it fixed there. I'm sorry about that, guys. All right, well, there you guys see it. 300 shares, 204. Now we're starting to get the move on agri. Now we're starting to get a little lift here. Can we get a little pre-market winner here? Let's see what happens there. Now up towards 1350s. We'll see if this can break above the 210s. That's the next spot that could get us towards the 220s and 225s. Let's see if this can start to move and really start to grind higher. Now at this point, I could hold pretty much break even. I got 204. Right. So I'm just looking to see this start to kind of grind up there and really make the move, really make the breakout look now as it's gone down to $2 multiple times. Found some buying, but it needs to go now. Let's see if it really starts to get going here. All right. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the chat. Good morning to you guys out there. What's up? What's up? Big milkshake trading. Thoughts on Boeing? Yeah, let's get into Boeing. We'll get to the Sunrise Report. We'll get into that, all that action right now. At this point, guys, I've been looking at this one, but I don't know, man. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get it up there towards the 252, 230 breakout. Let's see if it can do it, guys. I'm gonna put out an order here at 240s just to kind of leave it out there as I continue to watch this. But really, we'll get to the Sunrise Report. We'll start covering some more stocks here, but I think this is definitely a level to watch here. Let's see if it could just hold that 9 EMA, not break this little hammer candle. That's a 202. So 202, 201 can get me out. That gives me a really tight stop here and ability to let this try to make the breakout. We'll see if we get some buying to step up here and make the move. All right, guys, let's continue going. Let's go to the Sunrise Report. We'll get into Boeing. We'll get into different stocks and earnings out there. There's a lot to talk about. So let's just kick things off. Let's get right to the Sunrise Report. We'll talk a little bit more about different stocks. And if you have a stock that had an earnings report, maybe it's not a top name, let me know. We can always go through it with Benzinga Pro. We're going to be bringing it up and going to different screens here, taking a look into the earnings and seeing what happened, the expectations, were they met or were they not? Find out right here. All right, traders, let's get into the Sunrise Report. First, let's talk about what happened yesterday. As the market starts to get a nice little lift, and we need to continue to watch to see what's next, right? I mean, it was a little bit of a shake yesterday, as this is what we're going to continue to watch, right? As Trump makes big news, right? We're going to see how that continues to make moves. Of course, the futures rebound was what really got the attention after the futures bounced back and Tesla tanked. So let's talk a little bit about that action. So the Dow futures were up 613 points, up 1.6%. S&P futures were climbing 2%. NASDAQ 100 futures were up 2.4%. And you can see this morning we're up higher than that now. SPY up to 540.40s and definitely continue to push. This was a lot on Trump's comments on Powell, right? He made comments, and what did he say? He said he went from first calling him a major loser to saying, I'll let him stay in just 48 hours. So pretty much I let him stay was a softening stance on that action. A lot of people were hitting Trump for his comments and political pressure on, of course, what? The FOMC, the Fed, right? And so Trump also started to bend and break on China tariffs. He said that 145 is high, and it won't be anywhere near that. We keep getting more and more comments about China, and we saw from Bassan, right? We saw that essentially he's bending there and saying that China de-escalation is coming. So pretty much bending and breaking on all the tough stance that he had on China. We'll see how this kind of affects. Of course, we can go and take a look at the stock action off of this. We can take a look at it, some of the action off FXI. Take a look here on FXI here as we're starting to get a little bit of a lift here. And I'll just make this a little bit bigger so we don't get too focused on my trade here. I'm going to probably cut this right now. Let's just focus in. I'll cut it right now if it cuts $2 there. FXI, we'll see if this can continue to lift. And we saw a major lift off, and it's been bouncing back and starting to hold. So this is going to help some of the China names continue to lift off. You can see how Baba's back there almost to the 120 and almost closing this gap to 125.50. We'll see if that can continue to lift there, and we see some more lift in some China names. Of course, this comes after a 1,000-point rally in the Dow on Tuesday, breaking a 4-day losing streak. Both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ closed up more than 2%. And I saw a big statistics on Breath stating that pretty much just only about like 2% of stocks in the NASDAQ were down. So Tesla's earnings disappointed also. Let's go into Tesla's earnings and talk about that action. It's still getting the lift, and that's what I think is interesting. Because the earnings weren't great, guys, but I think it's just a great day to report. If this would have been even like, let's say 2 days ago, this would have been a disaster report. But hey, it's still able to hold on here. The numbers, though, really not good at all, guys. Revenue sliding, income cratering. Let's talk about the elephant, or should we say the electric vehicle in the room. Tesla missed on both top line and bottom line in the Q1. EPS at 27 cents. 39 cents was the expectation. Revenue at 19.34 billion versus a 21.11 billion expected. Automotive revenue was down 20% year over year. Really bad news there. And then net income down 71 to 409 million. Operating income down 66%. Yes, you heard that right. 66% now down to 400 million. Operating margins at just 2.1%, and Tesla shares are down 41% year to date and had their worst quarter since 2022. The company blaming factory updates on the Model Y, lowering average selling prices. Yeah, that's for sure. Sales incentives. Well, then just take them off, right? You set those sales incentives. And then tariffs, rising the parts costs. Big hint there. The tariffs causing action there. Musk spent too much time at the quarter in Washington, helping Trump downsize the federal government, while Tesla fought off protests in the U.S. and Europe. Musk say that Tesla must remain the least affected car company by the tariffs, but favors predictable structures and free trade. So pretty much saying that he wouldn't like to have the tariffs on, right? Tesla also warned that the dynamic of the trade policy shifts, and that the changing political sentiment potentially affecting their near-term demand. Tesla's delivery numbers were also weak, falling 13% year over year to 336,681 units. On the upside, Tesla reaffirmed its Austin robotaxi launch for June and said that its humanoid robot production will begin in Fremont later this year. Energy storage revenue was also up 67% to 2.73 billion, a rare bright spot in the report. Let's get into some other movers and shaker. We can talk more about Tesla. It's continuing to rise. And of course, I still have this lunch bet of 200 before 300. We'll see what happens. Tesla's hanging on right now and really starting to climb back. It has the momentum. Can it drive to the trend line? Can it make a move to 272? We'll have to wait towards the open, but this is definitely one on the radar. All right, guys, and I do want to talk about some news out there on Tempest AI. This is one that's I'm adding to the playbook today, guys. Keep this on the radar. I'm going to go back to it, but I keep seeing it lift off, and I hate when I bring up stocks after they're lift off. So just continue to watch this one. This is an interesting one. Has a really good news. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but let's get into Intuit Surgical, right? That's INSG, right? No, Intuit Surgical is let's get this right here. ISRG. Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. You guys see this at 511. The robots that perform surgeries. Yes, you heard that correct. I remember when this thing came from the early days, man. And this thing was only about like 180s. It's now $500 and it went up to 600 and bouncing strong here. It dropped 6% though, even after a beat in its 2025 margin outlook. That's what's affecting the stock. It fell about 65 to 66.5%, down from 69.1. Of course, where is it losing out a lot of the margins? In the tariffs. Tariffs are affecting a lot of companies, and where they're affecting it the most, in their margins. And we're going to continue to look for signs like that in the earnings. But look how this is recovered. Right back through the levels and pushing right back up, guys. So we'll see what happens here on ISRG. Really needs to get through the weekly 530 to look bullish. If not, it could just still be a resistance line that it can't get through. All right, let's go to the next one as we get Enphase Energy. And man, it's not looking good here in Enphase. It definitely took another beating here as it sank 12% after missing on both EPS and revenue, and also guiding lower than expected. So things not looking good at all here for Enphase Energy. Let's get to the next one here as we go to OKLO, as it fell nearly 11%, but rising right back. Look at the move right back, guys. A nice 21% move right back up here as it's driving back after Sam Altman stepping down as chairman, giving the nuclear firm more room to cut deals with AI hyperscalers like OpenAI. Did Sam know that a deal could happen and that's why he had to step down as chairman? That could very much be. And that's the rumor out there. So we'll see what happens here, guys, as we're watching OKLO, SMR, and all the nuclear players to see what happens with this play. Let's go to Bristol Myers, guys, as we got some drug news out there, as Bristol Myers taking a beating after its key phase 3 trial for its schizophrenia drug failing here. And it's losing almost 6%. This was supposed to be a good drug for Bristol Myers and a drug that could drive them back to the lead. Well, this is actually driving them in the wrong direction. It just seems like Bristol Myers and Pfizer can't catch a break, guys. So we'll see what happens there, but it isn't looking good for Bristol Myers. Could this continue the leak? Yes, it could, guys. I think that this is one that you could look to see if maybe it can make a little bit of a rally, but in my eyes, this still looks like a short. And when you miss a phase 3, when it gets to phase 3, some people start actually like figuring out what's the market value, and they start driving that into the stock here. This could see further downside because of that. All right, let's go to BP as it was surging here overnight as it got a nice little support here. Of course, the activist hedge fund, Elliott Management, disclosing a 5% stake in the British oil giant. So there you guys have it, 5% Elliott Management. We all know how things get that Elliott pop. Well, it's popping right now, and it's one that's in play today. We'll see what happens there in BP. All right, guys, big tech is in hot water a little bit here as the Apple got fined 500 million, or at least 500 million euros, as that's a $571 million in dollars, as the EU hits Apple and Meta with major fines under its new Digital Markets Act. Meta also fined 200 million euros or $228 million. So Meta also getting fined on this, but you guys can see it. They're going with the market. They shook this news really quickly. All right, let's go to the earnings winners here. Let's go to some other ones here as GEV getting a nice little lift here, and it's up there to 352. This is one that I talked about. I would really want on the pullback. This had gotten back down to 300, 280s. I think this could easily get right back to the top end. I really wanted to see this thing get back down to like 50% retracement. It got really close on this day. I think it hit it right on 250 from the top, right around this 450 spot. Really nice move there. Pull back about 42%. It almost got to that 50%. And now it's starting to come back. This looks really good, guys. This is why I like this small nuclear reactor space. And GE Vernova is one of the best ones in this space. EPS here, 91 cents. FIP versus 53 cents. Revenues at 8.03 versus 7.54 billion estimate. Also, full year guide reaffirmed. That's exactly what they needed to do. 36 billion to 37 billion here, and looking really good, guys. Let's go to AT&T now, as they also delivered their earnings. EPS here at 51 cents versus 49 estimate. Revenues at 30.63 billion versus a 30.35 billion estimate. Full year guide in line here at the top end. Low end, still a little lower than their 204 estimate. They gave a 197 to a 207 on the high end. Of course, there's other earnings stocks. Let's go to Boeing stock here and talk a little bit more about their earnings. We can get into that action here and take a look to see what other ones we can talk about here that you guys want to get into. Of course, I have that Tempest AI that we can also talk about, but Boeing didn't do bad at all. It came in here with a report of 49 cents of a loss, beating the loss expectation of $1.27. Sales of 19.5 billion, beat the 19.43 billion estimate. They did reaffirm on their deliveries expectation, expected to reach 737 production and reach 38 planes per month this year. We'll see if they can continue and actually hit those numbers. Another thing that you got to think about is that one thing that happened here is they did do a little bit of a write-off, essentially divesting a technology in this business to give it a little bit of a boost. It is getting the boost, though, today. As you can see, it's all the way back to 171 when this was down there to 131. So can it start to hold on and make a move? I think this is very important for like a XLI outlook. Will we get the industrials to come back? Well, keep watch on Boeing today. If Boeing can continue flying high, well, maybe the XLI can do so also. So keep your eyes on that action. We'll keep watch. Like always, smash the like out there, traders. Let's keep it moving right here on Trade the Pool. All right, guys, in a little bit, we'll be joined by my man, Michael Noss, guys. I'm still in this freaking agri, guys. Let's take a look at this, guys. Still in this thing, man. It's been kind of just shaking here. Been looking to see if we could get the lift, looking to see if we get the volume. Volume has not been coming in here. I've been trying to give it the move, but let's see what happens here, guys. Let's see if we can actually get this to make the move, or maybe some buying come in here. Looking around at some smaller names, looking at the scanner here. I have a different scanner here to look for some action there going on. ENSC, another one there. Got a lift there to 5. It's pulled back here now. It actually looks pretty interesting. I'll keep this one on the radar. Let's see if there's any other one showing up there. RZLT. This one actually looking pretty good here, guys. Prime time pullback here towards the 4. I'll keep these on the radar. These are definitely stocks to watch. Of course, I use a little bit of a scanner to do these, and we'll see. This is my high of day scanner, about 5%. It needs to go at least 5% from yesterday's close and then start to pull back a little bit there. These are exactly those types of stocks that I want to keep an eye out for. Pinkies up out there, guys. I'm ready to kick things off into the show action. We're going to go right to the stocks. We'll take a look at what's going on out there. A lot of earnings stocks, and of course, the shake happening as Trump turns on Powell. He went soft, guys. Is Trump getting soft on us? Find out, guys, during the show. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money. going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
Let's go, traders. What's going on, man? It's good to be back into the office, of course, and ready to get back to the action. It's been a little bit of a tough week for me, but I'm going to try to stay focused, guys. And just like I talked about when I was on vacation, well, we'll call it a vacation, but we won't get into that action. But away from home, right? Being just specific, trying to get a trade in, a trade out, make some money, and keep it going, guys. Let's see if we can continue the hot streak here. Let's bring on, of course, Michael Noss. You guys have been trading really well, been getting after it. Yesterday, big run action as Trump getting soft on us, I feel like, man. Or at least in the rhetoric, it seems like he's saying everything to just please the market here, as the Fed put is on here and backing down from first going to calling him the biggest loser or a big loser.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh, no, but I'm going to let him stay. I'm going to let him stay,
Always forgets the point that I hired him. I picked him. I handpicked him out of probably thousands of applicants for Fed chair.
Yeah, and his first thought was, "Will Powell be on my side?"
Yeah, for my guy. But again, we talked about this a lot. I don't think it is a coincidence that when bonds came right back to the point that he rolled back all the tariffs, all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm going to be nice to you guys again. Again, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think, bonds, we talked about this in detail, but bonds rule everything, right? The bond market is everything.
They do.
It's the most important market that exists out there. It's, a 1 quadrillion as opposed to, right, just looking at regular markets, which are, in the trillions. So it's 1,000 trillion for the bond market, and it's a big deal. But and we were right back down to that level. Even yesterday, the turnaround, the great move that we had in the markets yesterday didn't help bonds and didn't help yields the way it was. And then all of a sudden, now that's changed, we're seeing bonds up 2.5% in the pre-market. And that, again, we talk about all the time how crazy these moves are. That the market is moving 2-3% a day. That's wild. Bonds moving 2.5%. Again, a quadrillion-dollar market you're talking trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars have been added in value to the bond market overnight. So, yeah, I think this is the market to look at because it's what Trump's looking at. Again, I don't think he cares if Nike goes bankrupt. I don't think he cares if a lot of these stocks don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You cannot have a functioning economy without a strong credit market. So, we know his level. It's around 86 on the TLT, right? Right here is where he rolled back all those tariffs, and then we started to bleed back down there. And you can see again, even though on the SPY we had a great day yesterday, on the bond market, not so much. We were moving lower and moving lower, and then all of a sudden the rhetoric changes, and up 2.5% in the bond market is just crazy. Again, you're talking trillions of dollars have been added to the economy overnight.
I mean, and we got to watch to see if it can continue, right? I think it was pretty much a knee-jerk reaction. And I think that we got to watch now to see if it can continue. Now, one thing is certain, the V bottom is on, right? Did we get the V bottom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can see a lot of V bottoming action, whether you're looking at the SPY, especially on the Qs. I feel like the Qs have it pretty dead on too, and SPY also pretty much V bottoming, especially that action on Monday, right? That Monday action was very important. I felt it was very important also because it was approaching like trend line approach. And was it going to be closing towards 500? Were we going back towards the actual bear market level there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get a quick reversal right back. Now I think we got to watch the 550 level and above here. Can we get above 550s? I think that's the level for me to get back into full bull on mode.
Well, yeah, and this is what we were talking about yesterday with me and Steve, is that, in technical analysis, they call it the mother bar, right? When you have a giant bar like this, like a massive bar, that then kind of encapsulates a lot of price action after it's right. It's the idea, I think, from the Japanese candlesticks guy, it was like a mother duckling that's, like all of the ducks are going behind it. And I think that's just where we are, is if this bar, as long as we are inside this bar, I am treating everything as fade the rips, buy the dips over and over again. So if anything today, I'd be maybe looking for a little bit of a fade. That changes, like you mentioned, above 550, which is the high of this bar right here. It's not only the high of this bar, it's the lows that we broke down from after Liberation Day. And it is roughly, I can draw this in, roughly where the VWAP from all-time highs hit. And remember, we got rejected from the VWAP from all-time highs here. That was the one we were up at 575, where there was 3 days in a row we just couldn't get through it, and then we dropped down from it. So massive level at 550. So yeah, above that, a lot of things change for me personally as well as a swing trader, where I'll start to turn back on some of my trend following systems that have been off for this whole period of time, things like that. They all get kind of reactivated on any close above 550. Now, I don't know if we do it in a straight line, right? Because there's so much up there, but ideally we kind of get to it. We flirt back and forth for a couple days, and then off we go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I just have a tendency to gravitate towards like whole dollars, and of course that high is 548.62. So I just go to the 550. But yeah, it lines up, and it's kind of funny that it lines up with it, right? Sometimes I just have a tendency of just visually just like approaching it. So that's the level. Now, what can we watch for? I think another thing to watch for today is where's the pullback level where I'm okay joining this rally, because of course the rally was a little bit too far, too fast, right? I mean, 2.37% overnight. That's pretty fast there. We're up 12.53 from the close. And that's a little bit fast for me to keep jumping in and buying highs here. So I think that's what we got to look at. Where can we buy the pullback here?
Well, and I think there might be other ways to express the trade, right? So one thing I'm going to really watch for today is potentially gold short. I own some, again, full disclosure, I always tell you guys, but I've been talking about this for a long time. I bought some of this dust in this kind of 25, 26 area. Massive, gap up on that because gold is coming back. That means a lot of these gold miners are going to come back as well. And I'm trying to look at these moves and saying, well, so if the market sells or fades a little bit from here, I don't think gold is necessarily going to rip back to the moon. It seems like people are taking profits in gold right now. And although, I'm not betting that gold goes all the way down to 2000 or anything crazy like that, but could we see a couple day pullback, something like we saw right here in gold, where we had this 3 days down in a row? Maybe. So that's something I want to keep an eye on, is potentially different ways to play this that aren't going to be so much involved in the S&P 500 as a whole. And then we also have Bitcoin, right? I want to watch some of those names like Robinhood, and I'm going to start adding, I think, Webull to that list.
Bull.
Right at 80 or $100, this was insane. This was not anything that makes sense. Now, I was talking to a trader that I respect, who's a fundamental guy, and he was saying kind of the same things at 14, 15. He said it was a little bit overdone then. Again, we all agreed that at $80, it just made it was just a squeeze. But he's like, around $30, he's like, that's where he starts to see kind of a good value. And I kind of lump this in with Robinhood because it's the same clientele. You can trade crypto on it. You can trade individual names. So if we are going to get a crypto move, Coinbase, Robinhood are good ones to look at. Also, Webull. And then I'm super happy because our buddy Steve was talking about how he was mega long this MSTU from around $6 here, and this continues to move up to $7, $8. So, right, trying to look for different ways to play the market without playing the market, because I agree with you that, right, 2.5% overnight. If you look at this, so this candle includes the pre-market and everything, and pretty big gap. And again, we're getting to a pretty massive level, not a place I want to just take a trade, I think, right here on.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's an important outlook today. A lot of traders, I feel like, are gonna come in with their buying shoes on, and I feel like it's more of a wait and see here. Unless you were trying to play the quick action, I feel like on pullbacks, we're already getting that in the SPY. 100,000 shares, over 100,000 shares traded there in the last 5 minutes. Little pickup of volume on the down action. To me, that's a little bit of some light profit taking on the pullback. We'll continue to see what happens out the gates here. But hey, it's going to be a battle. All right, guys, on this agri, my ticking time bomb's just gone off, guys. I just cut the position for like literally a 2-cent loss. It just got to the point where it didn't go, and I don't want to be grabbing it and having it towards the open here. I have it on the little small account. I still think it could make the move, but at this point, I'm just sitting there and sit like a sitting duck, essentially just waiting to get shot off the fence there. And I feel like sometimes when you're a sitting duck and the trade's not moving, remember that you don't need to be in the trade. You're taking the trade because you're expecting a profit, right? And at some point, you can determine that, hey, even if I take this small little haircut, it might be better than just staying in here and all of a sudden getting picked off, right? It happens. Trust me. It happens to me all the time. So in this point, even though the stock can go even in the favor, even if it goes in the green, you don't get mad because it just got to the point where your timing was off. You realize that, so you do something about it. You can come out, you can get back in. That's always one of the strengths of being a trader and being able to get in and out, and not just being an investor, right? Where I can get in and I'm stuck, right? Well, no, remember, you can get that out button and then just wait for the move, right? Or wait for a better level to break, right? Maybe I just
That
want to get
is,
back in for a stock break of like 212 versus a break here and hanging out in the 203s, right? So,
well, yeah, that's our superpower, right? That's what we can do better than everyone else out there when it comes to looking at, the
yeah.
hedge funds, large institutions, prop firms, that kind of thing. Is they can't do that. They're too big. We're very, very small. Even the biggest trader amongst us is tiny, and we can get in, we can get out, we can take that money and then move on. Just FYI, just triggered a short here. I heard the British man yelling in my ear. So I took it over in the trade the pool account small on this ASTS from the short side. Again, you can see the blue arrow there. So the stop just at highs of the day. So it's pretty small risk to push all the way down. I don't know if this was an earnings play or what it was, but just a pretty big gap up. What I've started to do, just for everyone out there, is I started to go to try to find the list as opposed to using like a gap scanner. I go to StockTwits that has a trending tab, and I just look at that, and that's how I find the stocks for the day. Because the way I look at it is that if it's on the trending tab of StockTwits, means a lot of people are talking about it in a normal amount of times. So it just means that there's some amount of action there that is unusual in some way, right? If I don't really, you guys know me, I don't really care why, but I know that everyone's talking about it, and then that's something that I should probably put on the list or pay attention to, based on the action that I'm seeing in the pre-market.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? You got to find where the volume is. You got to find where the trades are. UPXI showing up on the scanner again. Of course, also a big runner. So we'll see if it can actually make a move again. This thing was making a move right here in the pre-market. I didn't even catch that earlier move. That went to 12, guys. So this thing's still moving all around, guys. It's been holding the pullback pretty well here. It had a nice little pullback day yesterday, all the way back to 770. This thing had gone to 22. So we'll see what happens on UPXI.
Yeah, I saw that one being on the list there. It's StockTwits too, but I don't think I like the pre-market accent. Is that why? I think that's why. Yeah, that's that crazy one too.
Yeah, it's
$2 up to 24. And yeah, it looks like it's trying again here. It's trying to dig in. It spent
trying to
a
dig.
whole day at 8. Now it's trying to go to 10 again. Interesting.
Yeah, I like the pullback. Like if it could come back towards like 970s and then come back through 10 is how I like it. That's just hourly 9 EMA pullbacks, right? Like looking for quick pullbacks, hourly to pull back significantly, and then you got to look for buying to come back in. For me, I need to see a washout on this thing out the gates for it to come back towards that 970 area.
So, interesting conversation I like having here. People talking about pre-market trading. I like looking at the conversation in the chat.
Yeah, let's catch some there.
So
What's going on?
Vic just carefully says, "Hey, be careful on these low volume stocks." But this is something, again, we know Shane is always keeping an eye on, is the volume of these things, right, in the market. So that's a huge thing. So that's a really good conversation. Again, right? Vic's just looking out for a fellow trader, but that's what you have to do when you look at something like this. If you're trading in the pre-market, volume is a must, right? So our seasoned traders are already going to know this, but you're right. In the pre-market, things can get really, really wacky. But just look at the volume that this thing has done today. So this is going to probably be as liquid as, a lot of your large cap names right now, just because, you're talking every 5-minute bar is putting in 1 million shares. So, but both points are absolutely right. Make sure that when you're looking at these crazy stocks, you're making sure that it's doing insane volume, because at some point that volume is going to dry up. So whatever you're seeing for volume right now, look at that as saying, okay, that's the cap. I'm looking at the spread here, and it's 1 penny wide and plenty thick. So this one's a perfectly fine one to trade. But yeah, definitely make sure, especially in the pre-market where you don't have stop losses that work, you don't have a lot of these things that work. You got to make sure that you're paying attention to that and saying, okay, I'm gonna have a game plan when it comes to volume. 36 million, I think, is obviously plenty, but make sure it's in the millions when you're trading one of these ones, so that even if it dries up, there's still a lot of liquidity there for you.
Yeah, I talk about this all the time, guys. I specifically look for at least 1 million shares traded. If it's near the 100,000s and it's moving really fast, the one thing that I'd want to see is like there's one that today that I'll keep an eye on, NDRA. The reason why I like that one is in the $3 spot. So there's one thing that I'll tell you guys, it's a certainty. The gurus love the $3 to $7 range. There's something about that. That does really well for their trades, right? It's not the $1 stock, so they don't need to have like 10 million shares. But it also has a tendency of these $3 stocks to become $6 or $7 all the time. It's a tendency that we see. And so that's one thing that I can tell you clearly I've learned from their trading, right? I've seen enough of their videos, and I pay attention to more the styling of trading than how do they trade it, right? The styling is they look for that. They specifically look for a stock between $3 to $10. They look for a volume at least 1 million shares traded. And they're also looking for what? Well, they're looking for this stock to be up, right? They're looking for it to be at least at like 20%, looking for it to go towards maybe 100%. So you got 3 names today, even. One name just showed up there, BTCM. Bit mining. That's an interesting name to catch there on the scanners. And we're seeing that UPXI start to make the move towards 1070s. We'll see if that can make moves. A lot of these small caps on the radar today, but that BTCM, interesting to see that start to make a little bit of a boost there. We'll see what happens on bit mining. If we start to get some bit miners to continue to move, they were moving pretty good yesterday. But yeah, that's what I look for, guys. And that's what you want to be watching for on these names. You got to get that action and low floats, right? Float is a big part of this too. So one of the areas that they look for is under 100 million. So that float to be under 100 million so that you can get that float rotation. The best ones float under 30 million. And this is specifically, I'll give you which guru kind of watches this. That would be Cameron Ross from Warrior Trading that watches the 30 million under float. I've also heard 50 million mentioned by Stephen Ducks. And then they all are looking for over 1 million shares traded in the pre-market. So just to give you that mentality. All right. What's up out there? How we doing? Is that our own Agri in the chat?
Yeah.
What's up? What's up out there? Sam, Oliver, You're battling with the limit order and the pre-market trading. It's part of learning, man. One thing is you can maybe use the demo to learn how to trade in the pre-market as one of the best ways to get after it.
Very good idea there, right? Because again, pre-market trading is dangerous, right? So you have to be careful when it comes to that.
You have to learn it. You have to practice it. I think that's one of the things that, Michael, there's tons and tons of traders, right, that trade the open, right? But how many of your traders do you know that come here at 4 a.m. and leave at 9:30? There's some traders that do it, guys. Or I know one of my favorite traders, Dennis Dick, right? He trades the afternoon a lot, and that's where he makes majority of his money. Where majority of traders don't even watch after hours market.
Yep.
Right. And imagine last night when the futures closed, and all of a sudden the SPY doesn't know how to go, and it keeps just rocking and rolling. Right. You can make a lot of money during those times. The key: practice, practice, practice. Learn what makes the pre-market, right? A lot of understanding of supply and demand, and that there's low liquidity, and how can I jump on those types of moves.
Well, and we need to remember, by the end of the year, there is going to be multiple 24-hour exchanges launching. Multiple. Yeah. I think they're up to 4 now that have gotten SEC approval for multiple 24-hour exchanges. So the more 24-hour exchanges, the more market making that will happen during that period of time, the more the pre-market will start to look like regular trading hours, right? And what will end up happening is that it'll no longer be an open and a close. It will be, this is when this company reports earnings, when it reports news. And I know a lot of people that kind of schedule their day. Like I was talking to a trader yesterday who took the whole day off because his only game plan, the only thing that was very interesting for him was the Tesla earnings. And he just traded the Tesla earnings last night. He ended up long, I think somewhere after it settled down, after the conference call, long somewhere around here. And then out, I got a message from him out in the morning. So it will be less of this structured time and more of what events are you trading around, right? So like Forex traders, which I know Tim there is mentioning, they're very much quite often, okay, show me the economic numbers for each individual pair, right? So if they trade the euro, they're going to be there when the European Union does their GDPs and earnings and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's one of those the whole line between what's an open, what's a close, what's pre-market, what's post-market has been blurring for years. Like I remember back in the day where there was no pre-market. The market only opened at this time, and there was an auction on the open. So it actually took 3 to 5 minutes for the price to actually start trading, because there's a bunch of guys standing around the specialists, and they'd go, okay, I'm going to bid this price and I'm going to offer this price. And then they would decide where to open the stock at. That became a pre-market. The pre-market slowly kind of crept longer and longer as years went on. And now it looks like they're to the point where, again, there's 4 SEC registered exchanges that just said, screw it. We're just going to make it 24 hours. I still think the plan is to close on the weekend. So at least we still get that. But that will go away eventually too. Everything will just be traded 24/7. So take the time to practice, right? Understand it's going to be more and more of how the market goes, and you'll have to figure out a way around it, right? My bot, for example, right? I mentioned this ASTS.
Wow.
Short. My bot starts in the pre-market, right? So it's scary, but you definitely should take the time and say, okay, I'm gonna learn it, right?
Yeah, and it's just about practice. I think a lot of and then trying to find strategies around that, and trying to see how you can put that to work, right? Another thing with pre-market trading is a lot of understanding. Even for us, we don't have to stress too much about this, but kind of routing and things like that is very important. Here, man, this UPXI is just getting bought up, man, on the offer. Been watching this thing just start to rip, guys. We were watching it at like 10:30s to 11:40s now. So big move there at UPXI, kind of leading the pre-market action now as we're getting a lot of stocks to start making moves, guys. We'll keep a watch to see what else is out there. I'm seeing SMCX show up on the scanners too, just to bring in different stocks. I want to keep bringing in stocks that are making moves today. Another one that I kind of expected, Ion X or Ion Q making a little lift there. And of course, as the quantum names get a little lift there, you can keep a watch to see if maybe those names are in play today. One of the areas that I wanted to watch, Michael, today was to see if the kind of the value trade comes off, and do they go buying to the growth names, even the names that are just getting the growth move up on the gap up move. But now we could maybe see the hand shift over a little bit. Is it time for risk on? I don't know. What are you thinking on that? I think still I'm a little bit weary of this rally, but what are you feeling?
Again, I'm keeping my life really simple here,
Yeah,
and
it's a tough
it's been
day.
helping me out. As I'm just looking at 550 for below 550, I want to be fading to the short side, just like when we were kind of down here and we were talking on Monday and Tuesday, that I wanted to be buying because we were at the low end of the range. I'm just looking at this bar and I'm treating this bar as a range. And is we're at the low end of the range, I want to be buying. If we're at the top end of the range, I probably want to be pairing some of those longs off, maybe looking for some shorts. And then if we get a sustained breakout of 550, not today, but maybe later in the week, then that's when I'm going to start turning on some trend following systems, doing some of that style trading as well. Because right now this range is just so big that I think kind of everything, we need some resolution of this tariff tax before we have anything. Because again, Jay Powell, if he's leaving Jay Powell alone, well, Jay Powell has been really adamant that I can't do anything with rates until you get rid of the tariffs. It's just, I can't, tariffs are a tax and they're inflationary. So I can't lower rates into an inflationary environment. So yes, it's nice that he's backing off that, but until they're all gone or at least diminished to a point where we don't think it's going to be inflationary, Jay Powell can't do anything. So I think this might be a little bit overhyped right now.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's something to watch, right? I mean, you got to continue to watch to see the reaction. I think day two is an important day. Today is that day, right? We got overnight action. Let's see when the traders actually get in here. Can they hold the rally here? One name that I'm looking at, guys, I think it's an important one to watch today. I talked about it, Tempest AI continuing to push here, guys. Of course, it does have a headline here as Tempest AI announced a multi-year strategic collaboration with AstraZeneca and Pathos AI to develop the largest multi-module foundation model in oncology. This is actually very important. I think, like I've mentioned, guys, there's one area to continue watching AI. It's AI in health, it's AI in robotics, and it's AI in autonomous vehicles. Those are three actual ways to create revenue from AI. Real money, like not just user base, but
huge money, right? Like if you and that's what things like Tempest, and again, this is a Pelosi pick, and we joked about this. Is actually shout out to Steve was talking yesterday how he bought a bunch of this, so congratulations on that.
Oh, he's been getting it on the pullback.
Yeah, he's been buying some of it, he said yesterday, so I hope he held it. But so
I think it's a great monthly chart too, right? This is a good example of using monthly charts. So remember, the biggest investors are probably going to be looking at this and being like, well, yeah, if I can get it off the monthly IPO candle, why not maybe risk on that candle, right? I mean,
well, and you don't fade Nancy, right? You don't fade the greatest investor of all time. And and when it comes to, I think, and again, a couple of the more fundamentally driven traders that I respect and talk to have said the same thing, that it's one thing for a phone company or a telemarketing company to say, yeah, we fired some minimum wage workers and we replaced them with AI. It's like, okay, you saved a couple bucks, good for you. It's another thing for a drug company to say, because of AI, we have discovered a drug that we now have a patent on that cures XYZ disease. That is, adding multiple baggers to whatever it is that you're doing as a company. And that's, again, that's a real push. I'd even say more than autonomous, more than robotics, more than anything, because all of the R&D rights are still there, right? So if Tempest cures cancer and it becomes a multi-trillion-dollar drug, they get to keep. It doesn't matter that AI built it, right? They still get to keep all of that. So yeah,
Look at this,
great looking chart.
this
Yeah, great looking chart.
mine technology showing up there. Are we seeing some of those Peaceful stocks moving today?
Mind
Oh,
is a oil field securities and equipment company, according to this.
uh,
I don't know if that's according to
I don't know, man. What are we seeing out
TradingView.
there? Let's go. We open, baby. Let's go. Ding, 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 ding is right, guys. Let's get after this market. Let's see what we can come up with. You guys know where you're at. It's, of course, Trade the Pool, guys. Get after this market.
All right, so let's take a quick look at the SPY off the open, right? We're going to be doing pretty well here. We're in the top end, obviously, of the pre-market range. Massive pop here, but we have a pretty defined pre-market level over here at 541. And you can see 1, 2, 3 attempts at that level. So far, we've kind of faded that one just a little bit, so we need to keep an eye on that and see if that ends up being a ceiling for a period of time. Back below VWAP, that could be an interesting one to take a trade on here. So,
all right, looking around, guys, trying to find the best mover in the morning here. Let's see if we're able to trade it here. I'm looking around out there, looking for the pop ENSC showing up on the scanners.
yes, that's the one everyone was looking at in the pre-market there, that ENSC. Oh, I've done something to my display.
All right, there's a 450 buy there. Now it's starting to make the push here on the 460s now. Let's see if I can get a little 440 pullback here. I'll take a shot on this thing. Let's see it here. 450s. Can it get to the 440s here? Sounding like an auctioneer. Let's see it. 460s. I still haven't seen the 440s show up there. It might just break through this 460s and run here. Let's see. There's the pullback there. There's the pullback. Ooh, back to 420s. What a move. What a shake here. Do I risk off the lows here? I'll take a shot here off the lows here. Let's see what happens here. Quick trade out there. $41 hit there. We'll see if I can get after it here. I still got the small account, so I'm taking a shot on this one. Was trying to see if it scooped right back towards the top end there. Took a really quick one there. 200 shares in, 200 shares out in less than 2 seconds there. Let's see if this one can keep moving. I'm watching the I agree starting to make the move there. That one tried to pop towards the 214s, holding the $2 spot there. We're not really seeing any of these big moves hold here. Let's see if any of them can really start getting a hold there. ENSC looks like it might go into a halt.
Yeah, the SPY here trying. Right, you can see this pre-market.
Oh, Tempest
again,
already up a buck.
Give me feedback, guys, on the light versus dark charts. Right, it's one of those things. I'm a dark chart user in private, but a light chart. If you guys end up liking them, it's easier on the eyes, I think, in the long run. Yeah, so 541. This is the pre-market high. We're breaking it. Gonna look for one of those liquidity grabs because, again, I'm in a fade the gap kind of mode. So I'm looking at something like an SPXL just in case we get a little bit of a pop-up there and that pop-up ends up fading. Then I want to be able to kind of quickly pop on the other side. So that would be a break and then a push back below VWAP and then just racing against the high of the day there. So that's one of my idea anyway.
All right, taking a look at Agri. I'm looking around to see which one of these can actually make the move. Now, I think RZLT just broke the $4 spot there. Yes. Yeah, it just broke the $4. Doesn't look too bad there.
The fart. 120 on the fart. So up
Tempest ripping, guys.
TM. Speaking of your PSIL stocks,
that was one of the ones I liked. But Tempest is just a takeoff, guys. That thing was like one of those that I look in the morning. By the time I even get to the open show, it's like it's already gone. But look at the opening action there. Quick rip.
I actually reached out on our WhatsApp there to Steve. I want to know if he's still in it because good for him. He was just talking yesterday about how he was buying some and to wake up to a 13-14% mover overnight. I hope he is.
Yeah, there's a nice
little,
push there.
little
Continues push, guys. This is the reason why I brought it up, guys. I saw that news and I was like, that's a good headline, man. I feel like it should get a little bit more pop. And then it's just getting that good move there. All right, guys, UPXI trying to make the move here. Let's see if I can grab this thing. I just grabbed a little bit there, looking to add here a little bit on the pullback. I'm going to take a little bit of a shot here on UPXI here in the smaller count.
Tesla, let's look at that. TSLA. Oh, that's an interesting candle there on. So that's, I'm supposed to short that. It's a little bit too wide for me, but just do what the system tells you to do, Michael. How about that? Yeah, so there is Tesla just bleeding entirely right off the open there with a 2-day VWAP around 240, giving back a lot of its gains and doing that in a market that is holding on, right? Tesla being a big component to the market, obviously, and the market is holding on as Tesla's just given up the ghost. So that's really, really interesting. Something I definitely have to keep an eye on. See if that ends up continuing.
Strong action here, guys. Seeing a lot of some strength out there, guys. And ENSC, I think, went right back up there.
So there's the SPY. Looks like it might be giving it up a little bit. Again, seeing the SPY moving that high in the face of the Tesla giving it up that much, that was really interesting to me because, right, Tesla's obviously a massive SPY component. So for it to not fade down even a little bit when the market does, that'd be pretty wild. Now, the 2-day VWAP on the SPY is 526. I don't know if I'd ever expect us to go back down there, but I've taken some of that. So short a little bit, again, ASTS, short a little bit of TSLL, and then short a little bit of SPXL, or just the trades that have triggered going far. So far, all but ASTX are working out really well here. So the British man has been screaming in my ears all morning.
He's screaming.
I'd like to replace a nicer voice if I could. Maybe I'll email Interactive Brokers, right? Get something a little more soothing, female voice or something like that. Just can whisper as opposed to just.
All right, finally seeing a little pullback. SQQQ starting to make a little push there towards the 35s. Will we see a little bit of some pullback action? Just be careful out there, guys.
So yeah, we talked about this. If we go to the SPY.
Oh, just took a hit there on that UPXI there. I don't know what happened there, guys. Whoa.
Yeah.
What happened there, guys?
By the time I brought up the SPY, I was switching from SPXL to the SPY. There was a nice little pop. That's not the timing for any kind of economic number.
Big move, guys. Big move, guys. I don't know what's going on here.
That's a go to the streets and take a look. So let me take a look because that seems like
the streets. I'll try to trade it here, guys. Let's see what's going on. The VIX took a huge dump there. Went to 6640s there. We're going to see what happens here on the bounce back. It's a quick bounce back, guys. This could be a little bit of a fake out on the downside. Be careful out there, guys. Something's going on in the news here. Let's try to catch it, guys. I'll go to CNBC. You go to the street, my friend. Not seeing
White House
right now.
Considers slashing China tariff to de-escalate trade war. So sources say. That's our boy Walter Bloomberg. 29 seconds ago.
Good action there. That could cause more down action in the VIX. I talked about meltdown could be coming here. That could push up some more stock action there. I'm seeing the financials pushing strong. That's one area that I do see some strength. VIX dropping right back down to the lows. Let's see if it breaks the low here of that 1 minute action, or will we get more bounce here? Man, quick action there. I'm sure a lot of traders got stopped out. Understand headline risk there. Headline coming in and stopping you out. You could have had a good setup and you could have got stopped out. It's okay, guys. It happens.
And look, we're coming all the way back down because I think everyone was really excited for that. And then again, it is White House considers slashing China tariffs. Sources say, right? So it's like someone said that they might be thinking about undoing the tariffs, right? So it's like everyone got super excited. What you probably saw was this, right, obviously big liquidity rush into things, right? Stop losses getting hit, all of that stuff going crazy. And now is the sober moment to see if
I don't even want to trade this. I want to like go right back in and short the VIX here, but it's just tough. It's tough, guys.
Well, so I think everyone's worried now for generally what happens next in this move, which is, right, Trump goes on what's it called, Truth, just goes, I don't know what this is all, right? Same thing happened to poor Walter last time. Everyone just said, I don't know what this Walter Bloomberg guy says. It sounds like BS. And then 3 days later, he'll actually roll back the tariffs.
We're seeing the VIX drop a little bit there. I'm not seeing too much there. Let's keep it moving, traders out there. I'll catch some comments in the chat. How we doing out there? Woof. Crazy. Looks like
back up again. What a market. Boeing. So that's another one coming through the system here to the short side. Didn't really participate in that rally very much at all. So that makes me actually feel a little bit better about this one. So
yeah, XLI hanging in there. I will say that. This Agri doesn't seem to want to let go, guys. So I might still take a smaller trade on that one. Just because I don't trust this move right now in the VIX. Part of me wants to just short it right here. Looks like a really nice trade there, a VWAP fade, but it's just tough. It's tough to trade on this, guys.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those that
the VIX on that. That's at least a good sign, right? I want to long the VIX on that. I want to short it, but it's tough.
Yeah, and again, this is just the market that we're in. Is I think the whole world waits for on bated breath to see if that tweet comes out or whatever they call it over there. Which guys, again was the same thing that happened last time, right? We got to remember all this happened again before, where Walter Bloomberg tweeted that Trump was going to do a 90-day pause. That spiked the market, and then he came back and said, no way, I'm doing a 90-day pause. And then that tanked the market, and then he came out the next day, and then he did a 90-day pause. So, again, my faith is always I will trust Walter Bloomberg over anyone at this point. But, again, there's just a lot of – it was a very vague type tweet.
Quick spike in Agri. I got in on the pullback, guys. I'm long here on Agri. It went to 240s. I just added there. I got 300 shares, 217s. Looking for this to spike up there. Let's see what happens.
So here's another one. White House lawyers were studying legal options for firing Powell yesterday. So when he came in and said, I'm not going to fire Powell, it's probably because the lawyer said, you can't fire Powell. So China's foreign minister... in meeting with Iranian counterpart, U.S. abuse of tariffs has lost popularity, isolating themselves, blah, blah. So that's China barking back and saying, we don't care. So
out on Agri on that pullback. I didn't lose much, but man, the action right now is just choppy, right, guys? So be careful out there.
It's a good time to sit out. And yes, for the person asking there about there is a bunch of Fed talks. There's a Fed, Beth and Goolsby and Walter, all of that starting around now.
Should have just traded one name, guys. Tempest.
We have PMI in 15 minutes, and then we have new home sales after that. So yeah, home sales, PMI, and a whole bunch of Fed people yapping. So this kind of choppy action, I would expect it to continue if there's that much stuff going on. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, but that's a full docket, right? There's a lot of things happening today.
Financial services leading the action overall, guys. Big action to the upside there, guys, in capital markets and specialty finance. So that tells me to look for some of those names that could be in specialty finance, getting a lift there. What about SoFi pushing up here from about the 1180s towards 1226? Good action there in SoFi today. Just calling out a name that's an interesting mover here as you see SoFi get a little bit of a lift there. Different names doing good there. Discover, look at that push there. Nice little push there, guys. 4.6% there for Discover. You don't see that often. XYF, you got Capital One doing well. So it's an overall industry move. This is why I talk about industries and sectors, right? Capital markets also doing really well there. Of course, we could take a look at some of the leaders there, like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs leading the upside action. And man, I missed this Goldman Sachs trade yesterday that, it was really, it kind of buzzed me, guys. I was trading a little bit on my phone and looking for this 512 pullback early in the day yesterday, and it pulled back right to the 512s right here. Then big rip towards the 520s today, continuing on the rip. Look where it's at, 550. That's a big move in financials, guys. Look to see that continuing the trend. JPM, watch it go to the banks now, guys. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, right? Citi. All these names ripping here. This looks like a rally that has some legs, guys. I think we got to start buying in and digging in here, looking for areas that are not leading to catch up. So defensives are even green here. Energy a little bit, right? Technology is right behind from the open. So we're still seeing this move really kind of continuing to hold. Gold is only down a little bit there. Let's see what happens on this bounce. I think gold is one that I can look at to maybe short on this bounce. It's right there on AU. I might get after AU here. We'll see what happens out there, guys. But take a look out there, guys.
Yeah, I still have my dust, although it's not doing as well as I would like to.
That's why I like AU. I feel like I had a tendency of leading. It was dropping yesterday already. Dust, not a bad looking trade there. I just don't feel like it makes as fast of a move as I wanted to.
Someone mentioned yesterday, I didn't even know this was a thing, but from our chat, which was awesome, is GDXD. GDXD is a 3 times leveraged inverse short ETF. So GDXG is an interesting one that I'm going to keep an eye on instead of dust. It's like dust, but it's more. And if you look at dust is a short on the GDX, and the GDX has a lot of AU in it. So look at that GDXG. It's a triple.
There it is. At 461 right now. It's cheap too. That helps.
It's a cheap one, and again, triple leveraged. So I love that these instruments exist, because you're taking something as boring as a gold miner and you're really cranking this up. So just so you know what's in it, new mount.
This is all I see, dude. I almost don't even like to look at the chart. Hourly chart is banging on TEM.
Yeah. So new mount, AEM, WPM, AU, gold, like the ticker gold, FND. So all the big guys, they're all in there, and then they're leveraged triple. So like if you want to short NEM or AU or whatever, this is a good way to do it, because you get that triple shot. So the next thing is we've got Fed talks in just a little bit, so we got to pay attention to that, and then after that we've got PMI.
Yeah, that's what's putting me a little bit on a slowdown here, right? Because one of the things is I don't want to be ramping up too much. I do want to short AU here, but I feel like we could still get a little bit more of a bounce there. The key is look how far AU's already dropped, right? It's already done a huge drop. That's why I feel like AU is a good leading indicator. But one of the things is it's leading, so it's also already dropped this much, right? And so the laggard that I always talk about is GOLD, and that's dropping fast today. Right? Like yesterday it was even making a bullish open. Now it's really dropping off and falling off here. XLF continuing in the strength there, guys. So banks seem to be where it's at today, guys. I know that's in technology names too, but look at Wells Fargo. They're no low today. Wells Fargo high. All right, looking around out there. SPY continuing 544s. We're making waves. Can we get to the 550s today?
Yeah, well, if we get above that that tick, right? If you look at a 5-minute chart, that second candle
UPXI
is
ripping now, guys.
when the news came out. Yeah, let's just go. Right. So now I'm watching. I think the obvious print is right here. You had that massive spike off that news, and then we pulled back into it. So if we get back above that, there's probably a lot of people who are short SPXL right here, and then they just, or the SPY or ES or whatever it is, and they're gonna have a stop loss right above that tick. So I'm watching that one, watching that as well, because I think that might be the next thing to kind of propel us higher. And then hopefully, can someone find this Fed speaker and like slash his tires or something so that he can't go speak? Because I really, as someone who's long a whole bunch of stuff right now, I don't want anyone to mess this up. So let's just keep this
he's
thing
just
rallying,
he's gonna clearly say that he's glad that Trump is not firing Jerome Powell.
Perfect. Whatever it is he wants to say, I just hope he says it bullishly and loudly. Because although again, I took some of these shorts off the open, and funny enough, TSLL and Boeing, right?
Yeah.
TSLL and Boeing are not participating in the rally, so I'm doing okay from the short side of the day trading. But I just mean my swing trading count is very long off some of the dip buys that I got on the last couple of days. So I'd like him just don't mess this up for me, right? And Trump, please don't. If you're gonna tweet that was a BS news, just give it a bit. Just do that like tomorrow or on the weekend or something. That'd be fine.
All right, we'll see what happens here, guys. Definitely getting closer towards that 10 o'clock time here, and I think we're going to get a nice little speed up after 10 o'clock. So I'm trying to wait till 10 o'clock, essentially, but that's 9 minutes away. Let's see what happens here. Man, that Tempest, man, I can't even look at the chart.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got news back from Steve. He said he was stopped out of half. So it means he still has half a position. That's better, it's better to have a half position than right.
None.
So 15% move on a half position is good. I was asking too, just because I hope he had the full thing and he was rocking it. I was hoping that for him, but
there's a little pop there in different stocks out there. I'm watching some guys. SMR on my radar today, starting to recollect here, trying to make a move here. We'll see if we actually start to get some breakouts here, guys. I think we could have it here, and then of course we get some economic data coming in. What you got here from Shock?
Well, I think this was just a great reminder for everyone else, right? Said hard to want to get in after that crazy open, and the upcoming chatter might wait an hour or so for things to chill out. I think that is incredibly wise words. Is that when you see the market do something insane like this, and then you look at the economic calendar and you realize that's also kind of wild, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I'm gonna walk the dogs, I'm gonna do a little stretch, I'm gonna go out and do something. And when the market's going to calm down, right, we can look at the economic calendar and we can say, okay, well, we have something fairly important at 9:45, and then we've got something at 10. So you might come back and say, okay, well, let me come back 10:15 or something like that, right? Let me take 15 minutes or so, a little stretch, grab a sandwich, whatever it is you want to do, and come back and have a sit down, and time to get to it, right? So I just looked at it. Yeah, 9:45 is already gone, so that's already happened. So now we just have this number at 10.
Yeah,
it might be one of those. Right, do a little stretch, come back. Market's going to be open all day.
Watching this, another rejection on that AU. I'm getting eager to short it, but I would love to see a little spike back towards 40.25, and then it could hit. So. Starting to see some pullbacks out there starting to present themselves. So just be careful for maybe a 15-minute pullback here.
So my Boeing is still working pretty well here. Again, TSLL, I might just kill just because there's been a lot of bottoming tails in through here. Up a little bit on it, not too much. Again, 766 would be the target there. But so a nice little gain there, but nothing too crazy. So yeah, just looking for a little bit of a push. Perfect. And then yeah, I'll probably pair some out here as well. It's very good that it didn't participate at all with the move up in the market. So ASTS, just to summarize, so ASTS was a stop out. Might try that again if it ends up triggering again. And then we had Boeing, which is doing pretty well. And then we had TSLL or Tesla, which is doing pretty well as well. So very happy that in a ripping kind of uptape that the sells that I took didn't get completely run over. So I'll take that kind of any day of the week.
Some pullback starting here, guys. Q's coming back to the VWAP here. We could still see some pullback come in here, and especially with the 10 o'clock number, just be careful out there, guys.
So VRT, you can see just triggered there. There's the blue arrow. So 76.50 would be the target. That'd be a heck of a move, but we'll put that out as well, see what happens. So again, just fading. And the reason, right, this is just the systematic strategy that I created that's fading moves. And the other thing is we talked about this massive resistance overhead in the SPY. So huge, like just, this is a, nearly 7% up move from just 2 days ago, the lows 2 days ago. So just playing with this kind of range as well, right? Can you know how many people who run ENSC, like the company? Yeah, you can Google it. Like how many people run the company? Yeah, they probably have investor relations somewhere. How many people are moving the stock? That would be, not very possible. But it's one of those, I look at it here and I see on StockTwits that it is being very widely talked about. So it's one of those that got kind of picked up by the retail du jour for now. Oh no, shorting. How many people are shorting it? Not in real time. Unfortunately, this is one thing, like if I was the mayor of the stock market, I would love them to put short information on the blockchain. Like if you go Bitcoin shorts, you can actually see, like on Bitfinex, this is the real-time tick data for the amount of people shorting and not shorting Bitcoin. Unfortunately, that data is 2 weeks delayed. And anyone who gives you any sort of data before then, it is just a very gross estimation. So even the data that we get that's 2 weeks delayed is awful for short float, as we all saw with the whole GME fiasco. But it's really something that's not great for the market. I really wish that they did a much better job of figuring out how to get us that data a little bit quicker.
All right, guys, market pulling back here, starting to see that pullback. The only question is, will it hold on the pullback and just get another ramp up here? As, of course, we get 10 o'clock number. Watch out, guys. 2 minutes for that number coming in here. I'm holding off on shorting AU because of that. I want to, but at the same time, it just isn't it there, guys. Guys, thank you for mentioning the TEM trade today. It canceled the hesitations. There you go. That's what I like to hear, man. And there's a big reason why, right? It was part of a stock that I always try to give you guys. And I don't do the playbook for you guys to copy. I do the playbook for you guys to understand how to come in the morning and looking for setups, right? I thought it made sense. It was a positive day in the market, positive day for AI stocks. Tempest comes in with good news, good mention with big companies. I always talk about that, how you want to hear PR and headlines with other big companies if you're a smaller company, right? Things like that really helping it out today. Tempest, big push today. We'll see if it's able to hold its pullback. I think it could come back towards 48, then maybe make another attempt for the 50. It'll be something to watch. All right, guys, we'll get some numbers in just a second here. Stay
Yeah,
alert, guys. Stay alert out there.
that's what I'm looking at. Let's go to a 1 minute chart here of the SPY and just kind of zoom in, because this will be the last numbers for the day. Now, I know when it says that a Fed guy's talking, that of course that's going to be a while. So he could say something to spook the market, but it's one of those things that he's not super important, right? It's not like it's J Powell talking. And gold is actually GC.
It's pushing, right?
Look at that. Down 3% in a single day. The spot gold futures contract. It's
Okay.
I think it's one of the largest moves in gold in probably history for a down move. I'd have to take a look. But yeah, it's a big down day for gold. 1 more minute. All right, there's our number.
Yeah, that's why I'm waiting here. Let's see what happens here. It's going to be fast, guys. It's going to be fast. SPY down move there, and then it's like a wick. So just be careful. It could be catching that 542 VWAP and then break the highs, going right back to the highs and breaking the highs there. Big move up in the SPY, but can it hold it? Remember, wicks are tricks. Let's see what happens on the closing action on this 1 minute candle.
Yeah,
It's moving all around there, guys. It went from the below the 542, above the 544 there, wicked above through the high, and then right back down. This is what you call an expanding range candle. You see how the range almost got expanded just on this candle alone. So what does that do? Hits a whole bunch of stops on both sides. The bulls got stopped out. The bears got stopped out. So just understand right now, we need to be a little bit careful with range breaking the trades, making you overtrade, and then not really going in the direction. We're not seeing continuation.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hilarious that, right? So look at the wicks on this 1 minute candle after the news versus the body of the 1 minute candle after the news.
It's crazy. It's crazy,
This
right?
Got everyone mad just to close pretty much right where it opened. Which is the most hilarious news. Sam's asking, am I using the ORB strategy? Not yet. I am still tweaking with it. Again, like any strategy, before I go live with it, I always want to make it my own. So I want to take, and I saw what you were doing there, and then I went back to that study, which is probably where you end up getting it from. I know it's a very famous study about opening range breaks on the Qs. And I reread that, and I like that. But then I want to do some optimization and some testing myself. And so eventually, yes, that will be part of it. It's a very boring strategy, so which is good. I'm not saying that as a bad thing in any way. I like boring strategies because it should be very easy to automate, right? You can just plug in. Again, I have a bot that I'll be talking about soon that connects the trading view right to my interactive brokers, so I could just completely automate it where I don't even look at it, kind of thing.
SPY heading down here a little bit here. We'll see if it breaks the low of that wick on the action there. I think it's just a little bit of mixed noise here. This is why I've been telling you that the opening trade's been the sucker move. It's so tough. You got to sell. You got to get some good cushion in the morning. That's the one thing I've definitely been seeing.
Someone asking about this. So I'll grab here. In case anybody is as nerdy as me, I'll share this with you guys. Whoa. Hold on. Let me get rid of those. That's supposed to be the link to the study, but I think it was too long. So I broke it up in a bunch of. Let me put that in a link shortener for you guys. Oops.
All right, AU starting to break back down, guys. I think I might go for the short on AU here. It's going to be a tough one because I'm already missing some of it, so I need a little bounce here. But let's see if we can catch AU right back towards the 39.50s.
All right. Just put that into a link shortener. So there we go.
See if we can get one more bounce here.
There we
on
go.
AU.
So that should take you to a study called Can Day Trading Really Be Profitable? And what they did is we can talk about this stuff later if we want, but they just took a basic opening range breakout on the Qs and they went back like 5-6 years and tested it. and then applied it to the TQQQ, and just for the triple leverage, and just showed that yes, there is some statistical significance to trading opening range breaks on the market. So it's a fairly famous study, and a lot of people have kind of built derivative markets as well, right? Where okay, if you say, okay, if the opening range breakout works on the Qs, well, what about the largest Q components? Right, so Nvidia and Tesla and all these things. So again, it's one of those things that if you're taking someone else's paper, I think it's a good idea to make that as a basis to get started, and then from there you kind of build out a strategy. But on this buy here, you can see we are just riding VWAP. There's look how
Tempest holding on
here. Look how VWAP has been support for the entire day. We know there's a lot of institutions that will trade based off of VWAP, and there's ASTS triggering again. So I will look to take that short. You just saw that little alert pop up there. So a lot of VWAP is used by a lot of institutions to fill orders and things like that. And you can kind of see that that's happening here in the market. So at least for now, VWAP's holding as support. Every time we're getting down there seems to be a buyer coming in. So we have to kind of respect that until something changes. Again, I hope nothing changes, as again, someone who's doing okay from the short side for day trading is looking to kind of make sure that I'd rather my swings be doing very, very well. So again, summarize, TSLL was a good one. To the short side, let's go back to the 5 minute here. And we shorted kind of right here, and then just got out a little bit as the market was before that news. Boeing, just kind of messing around. Let's look what else. ASTS was a loser, but I have just re-shorted that with a stop at highs. And then VRT is working out okay. Those are the trades so far today. Yeah, that's Aziz. He is, I always call, the biggest overachiever in trading history. Dude's like PhD in some sort of weird engineering, and then climbs Mount Everest a couple times, I think 3 or 4 times, and then day trades at the same time. But yeah, he's partnered up with this kind of research think tank where I think he gives them the idea and they write the papers on them. And, some good, some, questionable, but it's one of those things. The whole point of it is when you're reading papers and doing things like that, they should be starting points. You read the paper, you go, that's interesting, and then dive in and test it yourself, and then start testing different permutations and combinations and all of that.
I'm listening in right now to the speech that's going on right now with the Treasury Chief.
Yeah.
He's pretty much talking about what I think was literally fed to Trump probably this morning. Like literally he's talking like he's reading a book about how, what we're doing is just a rebalancing, putting everything into play the way that we want it right now.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what he's saying right now. He pretty much said that that the world was working on like faulty kind of thinking of how things should have worked, and that we're putting things back the way they should. Essentially, that's all he's saying.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, but let's look at this chart of the SPY this morning. Like on the 5s, the massive topping tail and bottoming tail here, the massive topping tail and bottoming tail here. This looks like someone who's just a nightmare. This looks like a nightmare of trading action. So again, that's why I'm very happy that I'm doing okay. It's not a huge standout day, but it's not a negative day, and I'll take that any day of the week, especially when the market looks like this. But if you're someone who's trading just the individual kind of equity markets, don't feel bad if things aren't being a lot of fun right now, because just look at this market. And it might be for the person, I forget who it was, who said, hey, I'm just going to go take a break and then come back later. Probably that guy did it right. Hopefully went and grabbed a sandwich and did a stretch and pet his dogs and wait for all of this. It feels like one of those that at the end of the day, or you even somewhere in the middle of the day, then you're going to get the move that you've been waiting for, right? Like wait for everything to calm down, and then afternoon there's going to be some trend in the market, but it's not there right now. This
speech I don't think anyone's going to buy what this guy's saying right now, man. This speech might wreck the market right here. I'm watching, guys. The market isn't doing anything. It's literally holding on a thread about what's being said right now. I'm looking to see what happens here. Do we break the highs on the SPY? He hasn't said anything to hurt the markets right now, but what he's saying was pretty much that China wants this too. Where have you heard that?
Yeah.
Did you guys see what China said? Like the rhetoric that was coming? They said they would fight this at all costs to the very end.
Yeah.
Do you think they want change? He said, no. This is the best part. He said that they want change. Everyone wants change. We want change too.
Absolutely, sure they do. the guys making all the money. They want the change.
He says that because they're an exporting economy, that essentially they know themselves are deteriorating and they need to change this. So they need to change the one area in their GDP that actually is the positive.
Yeah. That's where they make all their money, right? That's one of those. It's
and so you're telling them to destroy the one area where they make their money, right? Well, I mean, the odds of that happening are very slim. Let's be honest. And I think one thing that I'm noticing, and I think it's an important one, I think Trump's losing out on deal making power here. He is losing out by the second. I don't think anyone in China woke up today and felt less empowered. Right? If not, they're feeling more empowered. They're having an effect on Trump right now. They're causing him to change his rhetoric daily. And that's going to make a change here.
The large institution or the large corporations, right? I listened to I think it was an Odds Lot podcast where there was this economist go on and say, okay, so Apple can't import stuff from China anymore. So why they'll just send it to Mexico and then they'll import it from Mexico. So instead of paying the 250% tariff on the Chinese made good, they will bring it to Mexico and then they'll import it from Mexico and they'll pay 10%, right? It's just one of those. It doesn't, or up to Canada, or send it to Europe first, or wherever they're end up going to send it. But you're right. As long as this drags on, more and more people end up they'll figure out solutions, right? They'll figure out a way around these tariffs. They'll figure out things to do. Again, it's the small companies, it's the ma and pa operators that are really going to start hurting from this, because they don't have that power that the Apple, right? Like, no one's going to feel bad for Apple. They'll figure it out.
Short here, AU guys. I'm going to take a shot here, guys. Let's talk a little bit about this trade. So, of course, we've been looking to see what would happen here with gold. It did kind of get that pop up above. I was looking to maybe short the 40.25s. It got to the 40.35s there. Kind of a VWAP rejection move here, just as of late on this 415 look here. Let's see if it can start to actually break back down towards this 39.50 area. Just got to continue to watch it. Of course, gold already down big, but the market kind of holding in here, looking like it wants to make an attempted move towards the highs. Let's see if it can do that and actually break through it. On the 15-minute, the chart's still holding well. It held that, pulled back to the 9 EMA. Let's see if it starts to make a break here and starts to get a big move. I think what we need to watch also is bigger stocks like Apple, right? Microsoft, the big boys. Can those start to kind of rally and hold? I think Amazon's one of the biggest watches today for me, and that's also doing really well. And this is an important one, of course, one that's been really affected by the China talk, and it's pushing well right now. Let's see if this can continue driving higher, break through the highs. You see how this never went back to VWAP? That's a good sign. Let's see what happens now.
Yeah, and this SPY chart is just crazy. Like this pie chart is just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It did another try, tested high, and then failing from there, and just hasn't moved pretty much the entire day. But has had put in these kind of big wicks in both directions, just to really make everybody's life a pain.
Yeah, that's why I think like the 15-minute chart is very important right now. You are in smaller time frames, and you're probably feeling like you're all over the place right now. 15-minute chart, I feel like helps that right now.
Yeah, and waiting for a trend to develop, patiently waiting for some price to break. So again, for me, a 5-minute break under VWAP, I'll consider to maybe take a quick short just in the market itself. And other than that, I need to see like a 5-minute or a break and hold above that 545 level. Like you just need to take a deep breath, take your time with this market, because as wild as these candles are, they're fun to watch, but they're not fun to play. So
all right, let's see if I can start getting this down AU move here, guys. I'm watching it here. I would like to see a quick break here, especially back below towards the 3950s. That could be an area to take like a good portion of the profits, and then just looking to see what can happen throughout the day in gold. My biggest thing is that gold's made an insane move. I mean, at some point, this is going to continue to come down, and it might be a fast takedown, right? And so, of course, we've seen some takedown. Let me go back to the speech. Let me see if we're hearing anything that's coming, right?
I
So
just
I'll
looked
keep
at
an eye on it.
that new home sale number as well. Man, I didn't know it was that big of a beat, right? According to Mr. Walter here, they were expecting where was it? New home sales rise 7.4%, so nearly a 10% rise in people selling or buying new homes. Which is
Just be careful with that statistic, because I think it's one of the worst statistics that there is in the housing market, because the thing is, it takes a perspective of week to week, right? A lot of things can be impacting that, right? So I would just be a little bit careful with the housing numbers. I hate that housing number. I feel like unless you watch it on, and I've heard economists talk about this. So what they do is they put it on a chart on a 4-week average, and then they watch that 4-week average. I think that's a very important that you kind of speak about that, because I really catch moments like that from economists. They tell me themselves that number tends to fluctuate from their readings so often that they try to keep an average focus versus just the number itself. Here's AU trying to do the breakdown for me. Let's see if I can get it here. It's a tough trade. I got 500 shares on, so let's see what happens. All right, let me hear.
Yeah, VRT is continuing to bleed, which is good. Boeing is about flat, and just kind of sitting and waiting. ASTS hasn't really moved either, so as long as the market digs in and holds on here. Speaking of, we have now broken down under VWAP, and it looks like we may be breaking the pre-market highs here at 140. So giving up the ghost a little bit here on the market. Now, again, still a massive gap up, still up quite a bit on the day. Just might be giving a little bit of it back up right here.
All right, guys, trying to dig in here and not just run into the profits. Let's see what happens. SQQQ is jumping up a little bit there. Tempest still holding on. That one's strong on the day, man. Now the XLF is an interesting pullback here, back towards the 4830s. You feel we're going to continue to drive. That could be an area to look at. Of course, financials were the strongest areas out the gates today. That VRT, man, that trade's looking awesome. I think you still have that. Do you still got that, Michael? That one's looking awesome, man. Maybe talk a little bit more about that trade. That was a pretty trade there. What's the essential setup there? That's just the VWAP projection, right?
Just the VWAP, right? You can see the first blue arrow I just missed, right? So when it came back up through VWAP and failed and put in this blue arrow right here, I got back involved this short. And again, the target is the 2-day VWAP, but it just came on the list because in the pre-market it had earnings, right? Those earnings gapped it up. And again, the whole idea behind this setup is that earning gap ups and news gap ups, generally speaking, with a slight statistical edge, fade more than they continue, right? A very slight edge. And that's all I'm trying to do is milk that very slight edge over and over.
That's money. That's money. I think we're gonna call that our little money rain of the day here, because it's raining there. We'll hope the cash makes it to the account, but you guys see it. I always wondered, is that Michael that's just dancing on my screen there?
Could be. Could be, yeah.
Smash the like out there, guys, and smash the like for my quick look into that conversation right there, because I go and I look into the news, and what's the first thing I see? China needs change. The country knows it needs change. Everyone knows it too. Man, I should start writing these articles.
Yeah.
You see how that's why I think it's important to watch some of these. It's more to understand what are the type of words that you need to pay attention to. And that's why I brought it up quickly to you guys. Like, that's what made sense there. That was different. That was not said maybe yesterday. Those are the types of things you want to catch. What was not said yesterday was now I guess China even knows it needs to give up on the tariffs.
Yeah, sure.
So we'll see what happens with that conversation. I think the market's not buying it. That's why we've been seeing some down action since the conversation, right? And now we're starting to break the 15-minute chart there, and we could be breaking the 540. And then from there, you start to see some bulls might be letting go here.
Yeah, because 540 again, pre-market highs. We held that pretty well already, but if we lose that, we could start to bleed into this pre-market range. Now, what a big, what a big movement, right? What a big a gap. So filling some of this gap wouldn't be disastrous, right? We could go down 1% from here, and we're still up 1.5% today. So it's certainly not disastrous to come in and fill a gap like that. But it's just important to note that, again, as a day trader, that could happen. We could see lower prices from here and have to kind of prep for those. So, this VRT, this is pulling lower. Again, for my day trading side of things, I kind of want to see a little bit of a flush. But for my swing trading side of things, I absolutely do not. So I'm torn here, which is why I create systems and follow them because, man, I don't know.
It's a tough one indeed. That VRT trade though, that ain't a tough one. That thing is dropping like a tank. That was a big overblown move off of earnings. So that was a good call there on that one, man. We'll see what happens in this gold trade. I got close there. I got to a pretty significant risk there, about 120. I've been trying to keep these hits lower, guys, especially on the way that things have been, right? That's one of the things that you need to learn. And there's certain times to step up on the gas pedal. There's certain times to step up on the brake pedal. The way the markets have been, I think to me, it's been more that brake pedal. But just got to stay safe out there, traders.
Yeah. It is one of those, like this quote was, right, an old shockwave, like you said, moving violently nowhere. And that seems to be what's happening. And it makes sense when you look at as someone who doesn't really care about the economic news as a technician, it's still important to know that's happening because you could have, PMI saying one thing and new home sales saying another thing, and then this Fed guy yapping about something different. And that just pulls the algos and the people who actually do focus on that thing in so many different directions. It becomes very, very hard to have a trend in the market. And so again, my bet would say is when all of this stuff is done, you can just mark the high of day and the low of day. Right? The high would be up here and the low would be down there. And if we break one of those, maybe we start to see a trend in that direction. But while there's a lot of this stuff going on, I just don't think that we are in that environment where I'm like super excited to say, a trend is going to happen, because when this guy shuts up, whenever that is, that could be the moment. But
I stopped watching it. That should tell you something.
Right, it's gonna, I made a tweet the other day when Jay Powell was out talking, and the whole time he was talking, the market was just tanking, and it was like you could see him walk off of stage, and then the market started to rip again. So it's like part of the thing is they just want these guys to stop. I mean, again, these comments should happen at like what the market closed at 8 Eastern. No Fed guys allowed to talk until 9. How about that? just wait until everything's calmed down. Then you can have your chat, and the whole market can decide whether or not it's a good idea or a bad chat or whatever. And then we can go from there. But so far it's just been he's just been screwing both sides.
Yeah, it's a tough one indeed. Looking around, I'm seeing, of course, more conversation about how Boeing is not being able to deliver planes to China. So Boeing pulling back a little bit. This headline and article was published at 10 a.m. CEO saying that that a few 737 MAX planes that were in China set to be delivered to carriers that had been actually flown back to the USA. So essentially being rejected. So there you guys have it. More news, but Boeing is holding on here. It's interesting.
Yeah, as someone who's short Boeing, that's not what I want to see. But yeah, it's holding pretty well. I again shorted the blue arrow because of the gap, so I'm about even on the trade. Any kind of move above VWAP here, I'm just going to take this one off for a flat, just because it's not doing what I want it to do. But yeah, so far it was an okay trade. I think I took a little bit off in this zone, but not too much, targeting again that 2-day VWAP. So probably just lower my stop now, say above 174. So it's only risking a super tiny amount right here. So Steph, I got you again. Hold on, let me scroll up. I'm calling you out every time.
Get it.
I said enough of this insanity for the day. Careful, trade well, and then comes back AERB. So no, I know you said yesterday too. Said he comes back and will do some day trading, or some paper trading. And that's totally fine. But yeah, it's one of those things that make sure if you said you're done for the day, you turn off the live account for sure. But yeah, what a move there on this AERB from 2 to 3 in kind of a straight line. So that's like, look at those 5-minute candles, man. Boom. So yeah, not something that I would certainly fade, because it seems like there's some more institutional, I want to say, buying going on there. But when it fades, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I think catching that is really tough, right? And one thing that we talk about, the trade accountability, I think it's so important. So like always, we're here for you guys, like always, right? And I think it's very important to catch moments like that. And sometimes you're going to be even not feeling it, and you push it right here. Steph, I got you. You said it yourself early. I don't feel it today. I think going to chicken out or use 1/3 of sizing on trades. Let's try to stick to what we feel. If you're feeling those instincts as a trader, one thing that's certain is that yes, we need to be able to trust our own gut and feeling as traders. Some days you're just not going to feel it. And that means brake pedal, not gas pedal. That's where a lot of traders make the mistake. They feel like they have it on a day when they really don't, and they push it, and they really find out they just pushed way too hard, right? So just be safe out there. We wish you guys always the best, but always here to kind of learn and keep pushing for that next level, right? And it's okay to keep looking at some trades, maybe close the account, right? Learn a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I always think that even if you're doing, a daily trail stop or a daily profit target or something, I do think it's important to kind of go through and document the trades that you would have taken. Try to be very honest with yourself and say, I would have taken this one, it would have been good. I would have taken that one, it would have been bad. I think that's hugely, hugely important, because what if you find out through that testing that you would have made even more, or the trades would have been easier, is another way to look at it, right? So say you made my profit target's $500. Okay, I made my $500. I'm leaving. Even if you do that, you should come back and go through the charts that you potentially would have traded and mark where your strategies, entries, and exit would have been, and what the P&L kind of rolling forward on the day would have been. Because what if on that $500 it was stressful and it was a bit of a slog and a bit of a trouble, but you could have made as much or more from waiting and doing trades later, right? You could find, for example, like with this VWAP spade strategy, I know the first hour of the day is about it. Sometimes, like, man, I missed this yesterday. Lockheed Martin, right, triggered kind of right here, and then this thing just rocketed all day. But in most cases, it seems like you finish this in the morning and you're kind of done with it. So it could be that's the case and you're 100% right to leave. And it could be that's complete opposite. Could have been the other thing. So it doesn't mean you have to do it now, right? And enjoy your win and take your time doing it. But it's a good exercise to do, maybe in the afternoon or maybe in the evening, is just kind of go through those charts and say, okay, those charts are, I could have done this or I could have done this. Just, again, more data is always going to be better when it comes to a lot of these things. So there's Boeing triggering again to the short side. Again, I'm in this one. I've got to stop just above these candles now. So this is either reject from VWAP and start pushing lower or get me out entirely. Again, I don't know which one of those is going to happen, but I'm just watching to see either one there.
Banks making a comeback here. We'll see if they can continue to make that comeback and continue pushing, but don't look too bad at all there in the banks side of things. We'll see what happens out there. SPY right back to the highs here. Will it break the highs as more chop in the range continues?
Well, and this feels a little bit better because it's not doing so in such a whippy fashion. This is more of a slow kind of grind higher. Which to me gives more of a chance that this thing is going to resolve, just kind of the way that we talked about, where that pre-market or that early range was just so news driven. This guy's been talking for over an hour now, so he has to be done, right? It's like get him the hook, just pull him off stage.
Let's see.
That's enough. That'd be great.
I'll take a peek in. He's still going.
And now the more I look at it, the more I think that's going to be the thing, right? If you can watch the second he walks off stage, mark it on your chart. Maybe we start finally making a move after that, because people are just waiting for.
Oh, it's because he has an interview now. At first he gave his opening statement, and now he has an interview.
Oh, good. I get it. If you go into politics like this, it's because you want some level of prestige or fame. But just do it outside of market hours.
Not much diversity there at the IIF.
Treasury Secretary, China will come to the realization that it needs, the same thing you were saying about the economic change. Yeah, okay.
Green tide. Does that mean green markets, guys?
Yeah, we're slowly grinding up. Yeah. Meanwhile, Palantir, someone's talking about in chat. Yeah, what a grind here. And is that man? Again, as someone who owns Palantir, I'm certainly rooting for this, but what a nice daily chart breakout of this range, right? I had these kind of two equal highs around $100 through that so far, knock on wood, holding that today. Is it just going to shoot right back up at highs here to 125? That'd be a 25% gainer from there. Why are Palantir shares climbing today?
It's just AI kind of push right back, guys. So
yeah,
growth getting bought, kind of trade, especially with SPY making the move it is.
A new partnership too announced with NATO.
There you go.
So that's good because a lot of these NATO countries are starting to beef up their own military to kind of get away from America. So that could be just a benefit there to them if they end up signing with that. But really just nice looking chart. So where are we here? Yeah, so let's go take a look at the SPY again. This grind continues, right? Again, I was talking about this feels, again, as a quant, it's always hard when I say that, but this feels more like it could potentially break than the action that we saw here that was just incredibly choppy and whippy and kind of news driven. This feels just more like a sustained grind higher where people are buying on short-term dips in the market, a little bit more programmatic buying as we get back to a big level of resistance around this 145 or 545 area. Through that, maybe we challenge 550 today. That would be pretty wild if that happened.
Yeah. Two's new high. Close to it.
Yeah, it's trying. It's in that wick from the
Tempest, man. 50.33 now, man. And barely any pullback on that. Ooh, look at SMR now, guys. Making a nice little lift, guys. This was on the playbook for me. Look at the lift now. That's starting to get really nice.
Oh yeah,
really nice
dip
trend.
under.
Oh, here's
under
the
VWAP back through. Yeah,
same area, same space. GEV pullback off the hourly recovery off 345. Nice looking chart there.
Look at one thing. So I've traded SMR a couple times, and just look at this. So this blue line is the anchored VWAP from the IPO of SMR, and just look how it respects it so much. Came right back down to it, respected it right here, and now it looks like it's going to drive higher. This is a really nice looking chart here in SMR. I actually really like the look of this chart.
Look at the space. The space is looking good, man. This is why I put it on the playbook. NNE reported today. GEV reported today. So both looking pretty decent there on these pullbacks, and NNE now breaking towards the high. And these can get going now. I think that they've had their nice 50% pullbacks from the highs.
Yeah, look at uranium. So this is a level I've had marked in uranium for a long time. This kind of $22, $23 area. How much this has been resistance and then support and all of that. Looks like we could be breaking back out of this zone right here.
Yeah. This is I like to catch themes early, and I was already on the alert. With so much report coming through today, I think it's always a very important thing to catch those themes on the weeks that they're reporting.
Yeah.
So pretty much a bunch of support for Equilibrium there. I'm done watching that interview. It's just completely boring.
Good. I don't think anyone should have to watch that stuff.
I think everyone's feeling like myself right now, and no negative news. That's what we needed to hear in that interview.
That's it, right? Just don't break anything.
Just literally just don't break anything. Don't say anything negative. And I promise you, that guy was reading like he was reading from a paper. And that tells me something, right? Well, you know what that means? Someone made his speech for him.
Yep. Which again, in this environment of a tweet just destroying markets, I will take a nice pre-prepared, edited speech any day of the week.
Oh, we need it.
So that URA is really interesting. Breakdown and then a push, potentially push higher there. So if uranium moves, so will SMR, and then if you know if you're more of a boomer like myself and like the bigger guys, you can look at CCJ. You can see the VWAP here from this major low, acting as a bit of resistance or a bit of support there. Nice little push up there on CCJ. So yeah, uranium's an interesting spot to me, just because I think regardless of AI, we should all be using nuclear power for everything. So it's one of those, if AI is the thing that pushes us there, great. But it's like, why not? As long as they're built intelligently and we know what happens if they're not, they're built intelligently and they're monitored, nuclear power is great. Right? So
yeah, I think that's definitely one to watch, and that's a swing alert, right? So
yeah, and the whole again, NLR, if people are looking for a ETF, so NLR has NNE, SMR, CCJ. It's basically all of the nuclear kind of areas, nuclear and the actual uranium itself. So it contains uranium, it contains all of these small nuclear reactors, and then a lot of these large nuclear reactors. So again, for people who are boomers like myself, and you like these ETFs to be themes, this is a good way to do it, because you're going to get, instead of looking at, oh, do I buy NNE or OKLO or one of these, the question is, here you can buy this and you can buy all of them, and then get some of those more safer, bigger moves there as well. And right, there's nothing saying this thing can't. But the highs here were 100, so you still get a bit of juice, not nearly as much as if you go with like an SMR or something where the highs are a double from here. So what you're getting for in safety, as always, trading ETFs, you're going to lose out on potential return. Right. So we talked about this before with PSIL, which just does nothing now for volume. They gotta get the volume going. It's like, I think absolutely nothing today.
Nothing.
It's just a way to get the it's CYBN and MindMed and CMPS. There's a couple of these things. It's both, MindMed and CMPS both doing exceptionally well today. And then CYBN, not so much. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of advantage to these ETFs, but again, the downside is going to be you're not going to get as much juice if you're right. You're not going to lose as much if you're wrong. So
all right, guys, whipsaws continue, guys. Just be careful out there. We just can continue the rejection of the range, whichever one we go to, the top end or the bottom end. And when that happens, it can be tough trading out there. I feel like today is definitely one of those days where it's tough. We don't know which way the market's picking, at least in the intraday. Yeah. Intraday, it's gone up, but it's gone up barely anything, really. It was just the opening drive. Since then, we've been sideways. What is it doing? It's stopping out all the day traders, waiting for the lunch algos to make the move. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly whenever this guy stops. I think that will be the maybe the move that happens in the market. But until then, we're waiting.
This is tough.
Won't break highs, won't break lows. It can't seem to get too far under VWAP. It can't seem to get over to highs. So, who is that guy? There's some Fed dude, Bassin.
Scott Bassin. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, as a Canadian, I'm glad that I don't know any of these guys' names. So I'm totally okay with not knowing any of these guys' names. Just some Fed guy who's talking about
Treasury Secretary, stuff. Right? So pretty much represents a lot of that conversation. And we are not looking good in this AU trade, guys. I'm about to get stopped out in just a second here. I'm going to give it like 1 or 2 ticks, but I'm about to get stopped out in AU. Not looking good here at all. Just caught some buying there. It rejected multiple times. I'm still looking at it. This could be a reach on the wick, but it's starting to get just too much risk on the day, guys. So I'm going to see if it turns around here, but if not, just go ahead and step out.
Oh yeah, I would have been stopped out on my dust. I had to stop under
Yeah, it's just too much now.
under 30. Yeah, so I would have got stopped out here now. But yeah, just gold is going to be an interesting thing to watch, I think, for the next little bit, just because again, this is just an insane dip lower here in gold, a big move on a single day. So that just means it's going to be in play for a while. Might bounce, might reverse, might all kinds of stuff. But I just think it is an in play number. So we gotta watch the SPY again. As soon as he leaves, I think we might finally be able to do something. But until then, and it's like, dude, get out of the limelight, move over.
He said, I traveled all the way over there. I'm taking the limelight.
What get a job. Go to work, right? You've got a job, you got a big job to do. Go do it.
Go make a deal. Don't talk about the deals.
Go do something, right? I don't want you sitting there all day answering questions and chatting. You probably got emails to send, or I'll send Elon and Doge after you.
Don't want to do that now.
Yeah. Send an email, say, look at this guy. He spent the whole morning in the markets just yapping for no reason.
Yapping. All right, about to get out, about to take the hit on the day, guys. It'll be a little bit bigger hit. I think for me is a sizing battle today, trying to figure out the sizing here on AU, and definitely did not pick the right size here. About to take the hit here, guys. Let's see, I'm literally one tick away. I'll let you guys know if I take this hit. It's going to be a good one. I'll probably be down about close to 300 on the day. Boom. There you guys have it. Took the hit there. Bleeding on the day, as it's a tough one today, guys. Back and forth. I started going for the gold down move and looking like the SPY was going to break the highs. And then all of a sudden we went into even more chop. So we'll see what happens here. SPY kind of rejecting the move also now at 544s. And this is what I was a little concerned about, was that the overnight action was the action, essentially. And that's what's happened here. The overnight action on downside on gold was the action. The overnight action on the overall market was the action. This is why you sometimes have to take part in the pre-market or after hours market, because if not, then you miss these types of moves. Let's be honest. Yep. And now you're stuck waiting for a move. And what is happening? No move. Essentially, just exchanging of hands of trading right now. Market makers loving this action as the stocks are not going anywhere, and everyone expected the stocks to move today. Well, there you guys have it. Stocks on a pause, and that hurts a lot of traders that are expecting big moves, like especially let's say like Tesla traders that were expecting big moves. And even in Tesla, it did make a nice little bounce. It's back to 256, but essentially going nowhere from the pre-market action. We'll see what happens out there, guys. And I think that you got to watch the afternoon. This is why I think the afternoon has been doing me a lot better, guys. Where I've been making my money, it's been taking a small little afternoon trade. It's not been here a lot during the show. And a lot of that telling me that it's not in the first hour of trading that's been well. It's been for, like, let's say after 12 going towards 1, 2 p.m. And that's when we're getting a lot of these trend changes. So just be careful out there. Tough day today. We'll have to bounce back, guys, like always. That's what it's always about, guys. Was working really close there, guys. I was close to about $800 up. Now only back down to about 437. So definitely a little bit too much on the risk side today. And you live and you learn. And that's the only way to do it, is to keep pushing forward, keep seeing what we can do. And the VIX continuing in the chop. The chop continues. VRT even coming back a little bit. Q's kind of holding on there. Financials did make the big rip. Best stock of the day was the stock on the playbook. Also, Tempest AI, big move there. SMR, nice move, continuation there. We'll look to see if SMR can continue making the move. It did get up there to the 1650s, now pulling back to the 1630s. But definitely, man, what a move in Tempest. That's just a ripper, right, guys? 5080s. And when you see a stock like this, it's not going and pulling back, not doing what the SPY is doing, essentially uncorrelated action today in Tempest. That tells you something, right? That's called relative strength. And there's some definite relative strength today in Tempest.
Yeah, just a lot of buying under the hood, right? There's, we're seeing that just happening in individual names. Or some, when the market does nothing like this, there's quite a bit of decoupling that can happen when it comes to individual names. They'll move a little bit more based off of, just what's happening in that stock, the news that has come out, things like that, where, just, you were talking Tempest ripping an SMR and Netflix, a comment that Netflix is getting near all-time highs. Just everything gets to move on its own when the market does nothing. So this is, again, the benefit of a lot of stock trading, as opposed to people who just focus on the individual equities, is that, there were a lot of opportunities today, from both sides, just because the market hasn't done anything, which is supposed to be how it works. It's just not what we've seen over the last couple of months, because when the market is absolutely tanking, everything is moving together. So when the market kind of settles off, then you can again start to see individual moves happening after that.
One of the trades on the playbook actually not looking too bad is the XLP short. It is starting to fade off a little bit there. Maybe we're starting to see more of a rotation away from those value names. So XLP short, still a radar to look out for, continued action there. And it is leading the downside action today. It's actually from the open, it's not down too much, but I'll continue watching this. I think this is one to watch for, to show you guys that growth trade might be getting picked up. So
yeah, the SPY starting to fade here a little bit again from those highs, but again, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the range, still slightly above VWAP. Again, just a very, very hard trade. So again, for me, I'm marking the lows of the day, I'm marking the high of the day, I'm setting alerts for those things, and I'm just saying, leave me alone. And right now it's like that. Right? Leave me alone as long as we are inside this 539 to 545. The issue with that is it's just such a wide range. Right? You're talking 1.5% range from the lows of the highs today, just to have no change really from the open at all. So we're starting to see, that's why I talked about, things like gold might be interesting to watch, because this one's actually like moving a bit. It's down huge on the day. So that's why the dust kind of gapped up so big. But we need to see, right? It's going to be some action for the next couple of days. So if the SPY is going to continue to be stuck with inside this bar right here that I kind of mentioned on the open, which looks like we are, then we'll go looking at other places, right? Go look at individual names, some of these crazier stocks. Go look at gold, right? And maybe we get, now that we've pulled back 3 or 4%, maybe we get a nice little bounce there that we can play in gold, and then maybe it continues lower, right? Who knows? But it does seem like it's one of those time to branch out into different kind of commodity-driven names and things like that.
Yeah, we'll see if we get some more conversation, of course, as we got back and forth action today. Of course, a lot of talk of potential deals, but the deals would have to come with conjunction with China talks, right? Not unilateral of us kind of bending and breaking. So we'll have to wait to hear from China. You haven't heard from China in a little while now. I think that's what the next thing you watch for in the news. Forget about what Trump is saying. We all know he's ready to bend and break. Now the question is, will China bend, right? Will they want to at least play ball, right? That's what Trump is trying to do here. That's what the whole narrative is trying to do here. Is China willing to play ball? Are they willing to even come to the court? That's the question. And I think that's what you got to watch for now. Can they step into the court? Are they willing to do the talks? Because right now, they're not even talking about deals. I know they're saying it, but there's nowhere near a deal done. Why? Because the truth is this is a big stick battle right now. Let's be honest. Who has the bigger stick, right? It's like I slap you, you slap me, I slap you right back, you slap me. Question is, who's going to give up first? Trump is bending here. Will China bend with him? Will they meet in the middle? That is, to me, a little bit unlikely. As in the past, China and the U.S. have not wanted to meet in the middle on a lot of these conversations. So for what I think happens here, prolonged conversations, more of nothingness expected.
Yeah.
So
It's
just
like
be careful.
It's like one of those rom-coms, right? It's like the whole will they, won't they all over
Yeah.
again when it comes to, right? And I think you're going to see a lot of that. This headline that, ripped us off the open could just as easily collapse us later. It's going to be very much a, will they, won't they? Oh, are we going to have tariffs? Oh, no, we're not going to have. Oh, we're going to get a deal done. No, we won't get a deal done. And the deal will go, and this will happen. And the market will be volatile, which again makes me think that we will be stuck in that daily bar range for a very long period of time. And then what will generally happen is there'll be some uncle point in the market if bonds continue to sell back the way they have been. Bonds continue to tank and rates continue to increase. He'll hit his uncle point again and he'll say, okay, well, I can't crash the economy and away they go. Could this take place for the rest of the year? I think so. I think we could have a whole year of just, right, again, and there's precedent for it. And the beauty of this is none of this is new. Right? If you don't study history of the markets, you should, right? We should. It's out there. This action right here was the last trade war, tariffs, China, all that kind of stuff that happened right here. We had a Trump administration. It looked pretty much the same as it was now. There was fights back and forth. It did the same kind of sell-off it did before, right? Up again. Looked like we were out of the woods all the way back down. And then if you just scroll a little bit longer, this was the J. Powell and Trump fight, where J. Powell wanted to increase rates because we were in a zero interest environment, even though markets were at all-time highs and inflation was at all-time, right? Everything was looking rosy. There was no need to be at a zero interest rate environment. That happened 2018, 19. I remember this vividly because this was Christmas, right? Monday, December 24th, 2018, the market just completely fell out of bed after being down like 13 days in a row. And then all of a sudden, right, the fight was over, everything got better. So again, it's not new what's happening right now. That's the beauty of it, is we see it. If you go back to what it looks like today, it kind of looks like that last trade war where we had a little bit of a bounce. Then it looked like we were going to potentially recover, and then we sold back off, and then, right. So again, it's go back and study. It happened before. Most things that are happening now have happened before in the market in some respect, if not perfectly, in some kind of aspect of it. And that's just kind of where we are right now, is we need to look at it and say, I remember this whole thing happening before, of the will they, won't they between Trump and presidency. Right? And eventually they worked it out, they hugged it out, and everything was fine. But wasn't quick, right? It wasn't within weeks. It was more months before it happened.
Yeah, and I think that we're on high alert here, I think, for rejections. The way that I think about it is that, we've seen plenty of times where we've been at a certain level like this. As we climb back, we hang out at that level, and then we get another big bad news, right? What's that bad news? China just simply saying, guess what, Trump? We're not playing games. We're not coming to the court. You bend break first, or we'll hang out. We can feel some of this pain. And the reason why I say that is that China's been in pain already. And so they're not changing anything. And they're not the ones that are changing things. We, the US, are the ones that are playing the hardball action, really, at the end of the day, right? They retaliated to what we started, right? And so I think in this case, it's just watching to see what happens there. Because if not, we could get another rejection and then headline risks right back to the lows. This is where it gets very, very difficult. As a trader, I can tell you right now, nobody knows. Are there people betting on that 490 was the bottom? Yeah, there are people betting on that. Will they be right? There's only one way to find out, guys. It's to wait and find out. But I do think Trump has showed a little bit of room to kind of be a little bit more flexible in his ideas. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And now we got to watch to see what continues to happen. We'll see what happens here. I mean, the SPY continuing to grind back higher, and then just the chop continues. But I mean, essentially not going anywhere from that overnight action. I think that this is just that tough type of day, guys, where, of course,
Yeah, everything already happened, right?
yeah,
It all happened
this is
before
why I get
we were woke,
annoyed.
right?
This is why
Yeah.
I get annoyed when I come in this morning. I didn't want to tell you guys about it, but that's why I get annoyed a little bit, because I'm like,
Yeah.
the trading kind of already happened, and at this point, that's not going to help us, right? When stocks go that far overnight, it just doesn't help. Um, it limits the trading action. What we like to see sometimes is no action happen, right? And then we can maybe get a lot of action. But when we get a huge trend in one area, it's just so hard to keep that gas pedal.
Yeah. SPY breaking so far, right? A lot under VWAP again. So we've got back to VWAP. Long way to get there. Now we're coming down to VWAP. So it'll be interesting to see if we break through in any significant manner. But like I mentioned, kind of closing thoughts. You see these two orange lines on my screen. That's the high of the day in the SPY, the low of the day in the SPY. I have alerts set for both of those, and I will not look at the market until one of those things are resolved, because till then we're not doing anything. And it's one of those, you can get hurt more playing this chop, I think, than even crazy markets that are crashing or rallying against you, because you'll just get stopped and you'll move on, as opposed to having this kind of back and forth environment that just frustrates and kills both sides.
Yeah, it's tough trading day for sure, guys. Be careful out there. We'll be back, like always, guys, continuing the battle. And like always, it's not easy today. Definitely taking a hit and a step back after doing a good kind of stair climb. So a little bit of an elevator move down today, telling me to just be a little bit careful, right? Find what works, right? Keep it simple. The VIX could still get a jump today. We'll see what happens. I'm seeing a little spike right now. There's going to be spikes all around, guys. I think you got to continue to watch just the action, the rhetoric. That's what's going to matter here. It's not necessarily specific valuation, technical moves here. Everything just is moving with headline risk. Essentially, that's why things moved up. It wasn't because one stock said something. It's because of the tariff conversation. So unfortunately, we're still headline driven, and we're going to continue to watch that. All right, guys, we'll be back like always. Michael, it was great having you, my friend, like always, and continue the battle, man. We'll see what happens. Let's see if the SPY actually breaks the range today, or will we stay stuck. But one thing's for certain, the moves, they've been happening in the afternoon. So stay alert out there, traders. We'll see what happens. See you next time.